What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the last week. This is the last episode of 2020. Oh boy, what a year it's been. This week, we do have a handful of news topics we're going to cover, but in addition to that, we're going to go over my personal top 10 news items of the year. And in addition to that, we're also going to highlight a couple of other small segments as well. So let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Tekin has the new 4.0 and 5.0 Eliminator drag motors in stock now. These are exactly what they sound like. They're just steps between a 3.5 and a 4.5 and a 4.5 and a 5.5. So if you're looking to really dial in your motor choices, here's a couple of more options to make things even a little bit more difficult to choose from. And next, we've got a topic that just slid in under the wire. TGH just announced the new T210 transmission set. These are made for custom-based trucks for the most part, it appears, although it does use a standard Axial 3-gear style bolt pattern. So you may be able to fit this into some trucks that use that style of transmission bolt pattern, but there's always a chance that you're gonna have to work around suspension geometry and things like that that maybe don't 100% participate with this design, as this design does use their standard kind of TGH style center mounted transmission portion, but then it's got a new kind of forward motor mount system adapted to it. It is all new, it appears, but it's kind of that's an oversimplification of this new product. The motor sits forward of the actual transmission base, but faces back towards it. It does look like it was a bit of a task to figure out how to attach the motor, because they're including their own kind of open-end wrench and some hex head bolts, just because there isn't actually a way to get a hex driver in to even install the motor. Maybe not the most ideal setup, but this is a compact unit that tries to put the motor forward, and it gives you up to a 30% overdrive. Looks like these are going to be shipping the first week of January. So if you're looking for more information on these, you can check the link in the description below to the TGH website. Also available now, PowerShift RC Technologies has made some pre-made light kits specifically for some of the popular drag car bodies from Proline. There's some headlight and taillight combos, or headlights alone. These are 3D printed housings to install into the body, and the LEDs that will fit in them also. So if you're looking to add a little bit of scale detail to your drag bodies, here is some easy additions that will help bump up your scale factor. And then next, RPM, popular for their upgraded A-arms and things like that, has released a new detail part. These are some molded turbos. These are like a hood exit turbo style. It's kind of half of a turbo, air filter or air intake portion, and the exhaust section. So if you want your Cletus McFarland-esque or Unicorn-esque style turbos for your vehicle, here is an easy solution. And next, we're going to circle back around to the RC four-wheel drive Cross Canyon Black Rock truck that was released a few weeks back, something like that. This is that new truck, new chassis with a Jeep-esque body that sits on top of it. Now I say Jeep-esque because it clearly has a grille that's not Jeep-esque. It's got a big black square over the front of the grille, except that big black square is just covering up the Jeep 7-slot grille that sits underneath of it. Looks like these got out to some of the influencers or whoever you want to call it, and I saw that RC Girl highlighted pretty much right away that if you just take that off, you have the 7-slot grille that lies right underneath of it. So I mean, looks like it's RC four-wheel drive's way of trying to just kind of tiptoe around those pesky copyright trademark issues. So if the non-licensed body was turning you off from the Black Rock previously, maybe the very clearly Jeep grille that hides barely underneath the surface will help sway your choices. It does look like these are going to be coming pretty soon. I saw them popping up on some of the stores, so check them out. Link again in the description below. But now let's get into recapping 2020. Now I went through every episode of the news that I produced in 2020, which I hit every single week. I didn't miss a week. And this show is a ton of work. It's so much more work than a regular video. Some weeks, this is the only video that I make. It's a ton of work. I'm pretty proud of myself for hitting every week. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. Let me have this moment. But now let's get into the top 10 news items for 2020 in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. These are stories that I felt were interesting or had some sort of merit over the year as I watched every episode I did this year. 52 episodes. Coming in at number 10, episode 97, April Fools, when RC 4-Wheel Drive released a Joe Exotic action figure. I think the Joe Exotic time period of the quarantine of 2020 was a different time, and I think we all needed that. That was the perfect release for April Fools. So RC 4-Wheel Drive, again, great job on that. Number 9, I had the Axial AR45 straight axle release. This was a cool product. It still baffles me that it came as its own kit and not on a truck. Won't understand that. I can't understand that. I think they're good looking axles. And I don't understand why they did them the way they did. But it would have been way higher in my list if they would have released those underneath of a truck. But instead, they just did it in this kit with the axles upside down in the packaging. Either way, cool. Number 9. Number 8, the Hobbywing Fusion FOC system. Now, I'm not really a fan of the Hobbywing axe systems or their FOC style, but the Fusion all-in-one combo, for the convenience factor alone of how it's all packaged, it is a very smooth system. In general, like, it's just a great package overall. I wish that it was faster, but for the convenience package and exactly what it is and what they were aiming for, this is a great little product that I really enjoyed running. I just wish it would have been faster. And if you hate soldering and trying to clean up wiring or anything like that, this is an epic option for you guys. I hope to see more improvements on it in the future, but already, great job. Number 7, the Losi LMT release. Now, number 7's about as high as I could even consider putting this on the list, as it's not even really been released yet. We're just kind of speculating that it's going to be a good release. It could end up on the list of things that fell short, but at this point, it looks like it's going to be a cool release. Kind of seemed out of left field for Losi to come into this area that Axial has kind of occupied before, with a monster truck that looks to be more kind of sturdy design and, made for big power. Comes with a really capable brushless system out of the box. And at the same time it was released, Proline had the aftermarket tires for those special sized and designed wheels available at the same time. It was kind of a sign of the new times and the new situation. And it was a cool release to see for a number of reasons. So that's why I put it at number 7. Number 6, the $9,000 scale art Unimog. Just for the fact that you could buy yourself a $9,000 scale RTR little Unimog. I mean, I would say that this isn't something that I'd be interested in. Like, who wouldn't be interested in it? Not for $9,000, but who wouldn't be interested in it? Like, we're all RC people still. We would love to see or own that kind of functioning scale model, even if we weren't going to abuse it. Again, not for $9,000, but still. So, just for the price tag alone, let alone all of the detail and scale accuracy that was put into this model, $9,000. But $9,000 still only buys it the number 6 position. Number 5, the Axial SCX24 Betty. Now, the SCX24 had already come out. It still came out in 2020. So the SCX24 could occupy a place on this list as it was, but specifically the Betty. I feel like it was just such a cool thing for Axial to do. For one, a limited edition, serial numbered at that, throwback of the Axial Betty body that came on the original Axial vehicle, the AX10, the very first vehicle that Axial released, with the box art style pre-painted graphics on it, the rock lizard tires that came on that Axial AX10 at the time, just everything that they did to make this commemorative package. Yes, it has a commemorative coin and all that, but just the actual kind of thought and background that went into the release of that truck, I feel is so cool to see. A lot of people will just buy it because they either like the looks or it's available. But for those of us who have been in this for a really long time, it's really cool to see. For that, the number 5 spot. Number 4, the Associated DR10. Now, yes, this is a previous platform that they just kind of part swapped and put a body on, some wheels. Like, no prep is getting huge. And at this point in 2020, this is the only no prep RTR you can buy. Like, how is, there's one company right now that you can have one part number, get it in a box and go compete in this super popular area. Still don't understand that. And it's cool that Associated was the first one to jump on this and execute it, get it done, and get people into this pretty exciting area. There's a lot of fun to be had. Beyond that, there's not a lot to say about it. It's still just going straight for 132 feet and then turning around and trying it again. But who doesn't like drag racing? So number 4, the DR10. Number 3, the Redcat 64. How did a Redcat end up at number 3 on this list from me? I don't understand it either, but stepping outside of the box and doing something completely different. Yeah, the DR10 is the only option in a market that people had created, but this is a market that was occupied by a number of just kind of niche builders trying to make these things. I mean, it's still kind of hard to understand that this area, I don't see this area becoming popular. I see this as becoming the option and then it will fade away again. I don't think that we're going to see a bunch of new models of these happening in the future. I can't imagine, at least, especially for $600. It's a $600 lowrider that can hop across the pool table and then what are you going to do with it? I don't know. Way to go with stepping outside of the box, making the kind of scale style chassis, actually making it function and doing the custom radio that has all of the controls. Who would have guessed that Redcat would have been the one to do this? So number 3, congratulations, Redcat. For number 2, I've got the Axial SCX-10-3. Now the SCX-10-3 came after a pretty long run of the SCX-10-2. Maybe not as long as the SCX-10-1, but still there was a lot of holdover from the SCX-10-1 in the SCX-10-2. SCX-10-3, Axial's first new attempt at the scale platform again. The SCX-10 platform was one that really defined and kind of turned this segment of the hobby into something as popular as it is in a lot of ways. It was the base for so many things, so many other vehicles and companies and custom options, and just it's responsible for a lot in that way. And Axial behind it, of course, as well. And the SCX-10-3 then follows in that lineage. Now it comes into a market that is much more saturated than when the SCX-10-1 or SCX-10-2 came out. So it's by no means as dominant a force as either of their previous 2 models were, but it's still a huge step for Axial compared to where they just came from. Everything that they tried to pack into that compared to where they were. Now, did that make it lose a little bit of its flexibility and things like that? Is the SCX-10-3 ever going to be what the SCX-10-2 was? I don't really think so, but who knows? Axial still added some great looking details, an amazing looking Jeep JL body, and the Jeep JT body looks fantastic too. Imagine that we're going to see even more body options in 2021. Who knows what those are? Probably not another Jeep. They pretty much got those bases covered for now. I highly doubt another Cherokee's coming, but whatever body options they decide to go with next, I'm excited to see how they use the platform. Hopefully something that helps make it more universal and kind of fits into that custom truck mold that they really dominated before with the SCX-10-1 and 2. And lastly, my number 1 topic for the year was Horizon's purchase of Proline. While that's not my favorite topic or anything like that, it was such a dominating thing. It's so many of the stories that we talked about every week leading up to that and through the course of this series of the Scale News Update was huge Horizon releases, big news from Proline, tons of constant releases from Proline, and now all of a sudden under one umbrella. It's big news, and it's still things that we see and people pointing out, like, oh no, Horizon owns Proline. The releases for these things are make sense. They're planned. That's the direction they're trying to take things. It's a shift in the market that a lot of us kind of have to get used to and really understand the scope of what's happening there. Just huge news for 2020. Now, again, those were my just top 10 news items of the year. Things that either I thought were interesting or important to the hobby or just huge news in general. Some of those were the biggest viewed scale news updates of the year. And then after that, I had one other list, and these were the top 5 tangents or rants, whatever you would like to call them, that I took off on this year. And rather than just recapping those, I thought I would just snip those out of each episode and play them for you at the end. Before I play those, I just want to say 2020 has been a crazy year. While it may have been great for hobby sales, many hobby shops maybe flourished in it with high sales, with people looking for things to do and staying at home. Others didn't. Others weren't allowed to stay open, maybe are never going to open again. And I know that that is similar stories to probably many of you watching. Some of you were probably able to work from home and maybe enjoy that time at home. But I know there's others of you who maybe couldn't work, and you couldn't work for whatever reason or rule there was. And that could have put strain on your finances, your mental health, your family life. Just everything becomes difficult. And I can't imagine how hard that was. So hopefully all of you got through 2020. Looking to more positive times to come, we all hope. I know I put a ton of focus on live streaming this year, and I really enjoyed that, but it was for a reason as well. I want to thank Matt for doing so much of the live streaming with me with Livestream Takeover. We did 40 weeks straight of that show already without missing a single week. And all of our friends who joined us as guests on that show, we appreciate that as well. But to wrap up this whole thing, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and we'll see you on the Scale News Update in 2021. And now on to the ridiculous rants and tangents. Thanks again for spending your Tuesdays here with me. I truly appreciate it. We'll see you all in 2021. Then next, an exciting release from Tamiya with a Yaris. What, a Yaris? Who just dreams of having a Toyota Yaris as their RC model? Like, you can, a tiny McLaren or a Yaris, the same price, but somebody's gonna go, I want a Yaris. Comes on the Tamiya M05 chassis, which I believe is the front wheel drive. I don't know, like, it's a Yaris. Baffled. I mean, really, just like, who's choosing this? I mean, they even have a picture of, like, on the showroom at Tamiya, that an actual Yaris and a toy Yaris. But in the background, there's like a beautiful Porsche, a number of motorcycles. You're just running out of stuff to do. I'll take the SN95 Mustang over this Yaris, but only in RC. I think I'd rather have a Yaris in the real world. Next, on to some more information about cancellations of events. And the next event to hit the chopping block was the RC 4-wheel drive West Coast Scale Challenge. This one has been postponed until 2021. And I don't know, I don't understand why people keep saying postponed. It's canceled. You're not gonna have it this year, you're gonna have it next year, which means 2020 event was canceled. Just say you canceled it. Why does everybody keep saying postponed? Canceled. Canceled for this year, gonna have it next year instead. I don't understand. So many events have done the same thing. Is it just because they don't want to refund tickets and then have people rebuy them, so they're just saying it's postponed and you can use those same tickets at the event next time? I don't know. Or are they postponing it because they're still going to give you that 2020 shirt and they're just like, this is the 2020 event that's just happening in 2021. You just still get this shirt. Who's got the over-under on how many event shirts we're gonna get next year that say 2020? Personally, I'm gonna go with an over-under of 3. Then while searching for other stories this week, I ran across some items that just make you kind of shake your head a little bit. Samix, which is kind of known for just making brass everything, came up with a couple of parts that just, again, one of them is the collar that goes around an Axial wild boar, and they made it out of brass. Why would you buy that? That part doesn't need to be brass. Why? Just don't. Stop it. And then the other one, which seems to be common on other platforms, is they made a brass enduro bumper mount. So adding brass up onto the chassis, not where you want to put more weight and why? Why are people buying this? Stop it. If you don't let your friends do this. There's places for brass. There's places where brass are reasonable and will help perform. Stop putting it in these places. Just stop. Then, did you guys know that the CEN F450 came out? Ugh, last week, I posted about this in the news, and then of course, the same day as when all of the release videos came out. And every one of the comments was like, did you see that someone posted? Did you see they posted? Did you see this video? Read the everybody else already posted that. Did everybody who watched that like 6, 10, 12 hours after watching that video think, I bet I'm the first person to say that somebody else posted a video about this? All of the details came out. You can pre-order it now. I just got a message with a new release. Breaking news. J Concepts just released a new body. This is my actual first reaction. They released a new body called the Lloyd. It is called the Lloyd. I know I'm dense sometimes with J Concepts names, and like I miss something obvious like a play on Gravedigger or things like that in the past. But what does the Lloyd mean? What is a... All I think about is Dumb and Dumber. What, I mean, I'm only seeing one photo. And I mean, what body are you running? The Lloyd? This is the JCI M117 Lloyd. I don't know. Pick this body up if you like it. I can't. Somebody Photoshop this. Is this a joke?